I borrowed a great proportion of my uncle's retirement fund, and I think he started with me early. But in 4 years, he will have doubled his retirement fund with me from private lending because I gave him 10% a year for 10 years. He doubled his money. Christmas is very comfortable for me. He loves me. I get a nice gift. You're doing an invaluable service for these people. You're taking their money off of Wall Street, which gives most people a lot of anxiety, and you're giving them consistent cash flow. It's an invaluable service. But don't overcomplicate it. Don't be intimidated by it, and just keep it simple. And if I'm good at one thing, it's keeping things simple. So I'm gonna break this down as simply as I can for everybody. 1, you're the hero in this. They're not the hero for lending to you. Do not come off as begging and groveling. 2, knowledge is power. Knowledge-wise, everybody in this room is more than overqualified to do this and to present a great private lending investment to anybody inside
Jimmy,
their network.
I don't have a degree that says I can do this. You don't have to. That's the point. By coming here, you're all certified. I've just certified the whole room to raise price.
Yes.
You're officially certified.
Remember, knowledge is power. If you've been following us for a while, what have we been saying the last few years? That capital is begging for yield because interest rates are so low. So capital had to go somewhere to get some type of yield. Now interest rates have gone back to normal. Now what is capital begging for? Capital's always begging for yield, but now there's an added element. It's begging for safety right now. It's begging for any return. Anybody who's talking about what they're making in the stock market, they're not adjusting for inflation at all. And then anybody who's, I'm staying safe in cash, no risk is still risky. That, at least 8% a year, what they're telling us. So right now, capital is begging for safety. People feel a little insecure. So there is money being extracted from Wall Street that is going to be able to be deployed in hard assets. So there is money out there for you guys to raise. So Rich Dad Poor Dad, we talked about this book a lot. You guys know it sold over 26 million copies? That's close to 10% of the US population. I would argue half the US population felt like that. They just haven't found their way in. So what's their way in to feel like a real estate investor now? Private lending. Do you know what my first deal was? It was private lending. And when I got my first $250 check, I was dancing, and I was a real estate investor. I felt good about it. Like this, being a private lender is how a lot of people get involved and start learning to begin with. Why don't people invest themselves? They don't have time, they don't know where to start, they're too nervous about being a property manager, they don't want to fix or rehab properties, but they still want to be in real estate. There are any type of real estate deals, there's 4 keys to a deal: capital, credit, expertise, and opportunity. What do you guys bring? Expertise and opportunity. Somebody else is bringing the capital and the credit.
When we talked to you guys the first time, you're thinking, I don't have money to invest in real estate. Then what becomes the next problem? There just aren't enough deals. The more valuable one and the more scarce one is expertise and opportunity, not capital and credit. But the world thinks about it the other way around.
So your job is to find an asset that will make a great private loan and be an honest, transparent person. Don't be a scumbag, find a decent deal. Not a great deal, you're not doing it actively. It's hard versus simple. Private loan, like the reason I would, especially in the beginning, I was much happier to pay 10% versus 5% for simply the aggravation. I hate doing paperwork. I would go to a private lender like house, money, that's all I had to do. And then I said a note and deed of trust, and then people would give me money. A banker was like going in for a full body cavity inspection. And so I just got tired of it. And I was like, I'll just learn to raise private money. Okay, so here's the 5 tactics to start raising private money. So pick a social media platform, post on it daily, post that you're going to a real estate training, a real estate event.
Do you have to be good at posting in the beginning?
You don't have to be good after you've been doing it for 5 or 6 years like me.
What were your first videos like?
They were entrepreneur drinks.
So he showed up drunk on a Friday, and that's how he started his YouTube channel. Just throwing it out.
My first podcast was called Entrepreneur Drinks. And then I would get other local wholesalers, and we would drink on Friday.
And then
we
put it
would
on the
record
internet.
it.
I think Elon Musk learned from him, right?
Yeah.
Now Musk posts hi and does awesome stuff. I just started with Jim.
And my favorite guest was when Ryan zoomed in with a suit and tie on.
Started.
I did other videos like I wanted to teach options of the tool, the anti-fragile, so I let a black belt kick my ass and just explore how options can be beneficial. And if you just charge in headlong on a straight line, it's a bad idea.
And also, remember, Jimmy raised $6 million. Look at how many views he has on these videos. It's like a couple hundred views.
Yeah.
We're not trying
To
to
be Russell Brunson, you don't have to be anybody. You don't have to be a social media superstar.
Guys, and also the reason Jimmy gets to put this up here and the reason Russell Brunson is because they started. And anytime you start, you're going to suck. And if you let that stand in your way, A, you won't get going or you won't go very far. But over time, as you do it a little bit more and a little bit more, Jimmy went from entrepreneur drinks to standing on stage in front of 150 of you by not stopping.
Long obedience in the same direction. So don't worry about your stock. My social media is still garbage, other than when Susie does it. And you just compare yourself who you were yesterday, and you keep going. And you only need to find a few people who, like $6 million sounds like a lot of money, right? I didn't need millions of followers. I needed 30 people who were willing to lend me money. So I guess what I'm trying to get to the point is it's not that gargantuan of a task. What the lender's gonna want to hear is this. You either get or you get. Did I say that to you, Vincent, when you first started lending to me? Yeah. And so what does that mean? If you invest in a stock and it goes to zero, what do you get? Nothing. If I go bankrupt and I can't send you your interest, what do you get? A house. By paying, who here's lent me money here? If I'm getting you these units at 50 cents on the dollar, I'm almost doing you a disservice by giving you your interest. You should be like twirling your thumbs, be like, I hope that some bitch goes bankrupt and I get that asset. So it's either you get a house or you get your interest. All right, you guys ready to see some true garbage? So this is my first deck ever that we used to send out to people.
whoever finds the most spelling errors gets a plaque.
Okay, so you need two things, and this is in your package, but you're gonna need two legal documents to raise money. You need a deal, and then you need a note and a deed of trust. That is on your resources page. Like, I went to a Ron LeGrand training, I took his note and deed of trust, I didn't proofread anything, and I just sent it to a private lender. Generally, private lenders are pretty meticulous people. He did the proofreading, he even did the changes for me, but you don't have to be a detailed person. Yes.
So he did all the proofreading and sent you $100,000.
Yes.
Nice.
I still mess up documents, and I'm like, dude, you're not working with me because I can spell. You're working with me because I can get deals. All right, I think we're in. Okay, March 2016. But notice there's certain elements that are still with every deck, to include the deck we did to make the fund. Who are you? Introduce yourself. Give your track record. At this point, we said we had $70,000 in gross rents. We were at 100 units. And basically, we had 0 defaults. Look at this graphic. That's just explaining the BRRRR process. And then you give a couple examples of your properties with the numbers. Then you talk about your system, give something about your market. Just Google something good about the town you're in and copy and paste it.
Isn't that what most of PR is?
Then this is still the same. I'm gonna show you. So you guys see how uncomplicated it was? It's so easy. Yeah, current deck. Okay, so now here's what it looks like after Susie made it nice. A slide about yourself, what you've done in real estate. Even if you're like, I've only bought 5 turnkeys, that's 5 more than the person. I was getting deals after I'd only done 5 deals. It's just a matter of asking. We find, rehab, rent, and then lease out long term, and then we basically would explain the BRRRR method to the owner. So the owner wants to know what rate are they getting and when are they getting their money back. And for us is you get your money back in 6 months. This is critical. How do we buy? One investor, one property. Why does that matter? One investor, one property. One investor, one property. I default on the loan, one house, you know what you get exactly. It's very simple. This is what truly gives your investor security, is knowing they're gonna get that underpriced asset. All loans are secured by note and deed of trust. A base note and deed of trust, you guys all have in your resources. So all you have to do is, I probably would proofread it, but you just have to get whatever state you're investing in, get an attorney to review it just to double, triple check. Make sure your investor's named as additionally insured on the hazard insurance. That's a big deal. All funds are handled by a third-party title company, so the cash never comes into my direct bank account. This is what investors want to hear, and they just want to see a deal. Then give them your track record. We pay 8%, so you just tell them the opportunity. Freeland Capital investors receive an above-market return of 8%. Reiterate, one property, one loan. Let them know it's secured with a note and deed of trust, and let them know they're listed as additionally insured in case it burns down or something bad happens. So this is all a bank really wants to see. What is the investor going to get paid? 8%. How often do they get paid? Quarterly. And then how are the investments secured? One property, one investor. Like this Mohan house we bought for 75. When we bought it, it was worth 155. We had a lease option tenant for $1,500 a month. We showed them their expenses. We had 80% equity in this deal. The guy who lent me money on this was praying I didn't deliver so he could get this house.
And then who's paying for the ongoing rent, insurance, and make ready? So you need to have reserves on this, or
Yeah.
do you ask for more than the 75K to have that buffer in place?
Now when I do this, if I'm gonna flip, let's say I need 100 to buy the house and I need 20 to rehab it, and then it's worth 140, 150, I borrow the rehab money too.
And then so you're taking the cash flow every month when it's getting paid
Yep.
and bankrolling any expenses, and then quarterly you're paying them 8% on the 100,000 in this case ish, right? And then after 6 months, you've rehabbed it, so then you have your ARV after 6 months, so it's a normal Berkey, basically, right? Then you're doing a cash out refi of the property and paying them off, but it's in whose name at that before you do the cash out refi?
The house?
So the note is in your name and the investor's name? No, it's an investor's name because it's a secured
Yeah.
loan.
The investor owns the paper, the note.
So they have to release that, and then the property goes into your name, you pay them off, and then you go do it again.
I always own the house, the lender owns the paper. So when you refi out, the private lender doesn't own the paper anymore, the bank owns the paper. The math?
Just go through the steps so they understand the process.
I make money from the cash flow. I also make money from all the appreciation I get on the house. And then on the turnkey, if we turnkey it, we profit from the flip. Then why St. Louis? Because it's exceptionally mediocre. Say, here's property detail report on the property. Always get a testimonial after you get a few under your belt. And then why this investment? Give them reasons why this investment. It's a hard asset. You either get or you get. Tell them all the reason the stock market, no one likes it.
If you're going to go out and do passive plus or Robert Allen method, you're going to use private money to take down a property. You're going to build in the spread into the loan of what you're going to have to put into the property to make it increase the value. Then you're going to go get bank money to finance it and pay the investor back. This should be a 3 to 6 month process using private money to take everything down and then get bank financing, and it's your property all the way through.
If I'm doing a cash out refi, then I'm doing non-QM lending. If I'm
Or commercial.
it still works. And even paying them, because you're picking up some of the appreciation is how you're going to pay them that extra.
Yeah, we're going to get into that. We're going to get into other options for that. So here it is, as simple as I can break it down.
Real quick, we talked yesterday in the mastermind that private lending works. We can picture how it works with properties that we're only 80% in because you can get your cash out and pay and you're not in it. But this doesn't work for turnkeys.
It comes with additional risk. Everything works, it's just a matter of what risk you're willing to take. What is slide 1? Pretty simple, right? What's slide 2? Your system. Just make sure it says this. We buy a distressed property at 60 to 70 cents on the dollar. Just reference my first deck and then put 80% in the image saying, hey, you're protected because I'm all into this at 80. That's what the investor wants to know, how they're protected. Slide 3, just copy this verbatim. One investor, one property. All loans secured by the real estate, note and deed of trust, all funds handled by third-party title company. That's the investor security. Copy that verbatim. Track record, let it grow over time. Even if it's, I watched all of Cash Flow Tactics Academy in 72 hours. Put that on your track record. Just let them know what you're gonna pay them. And then once again, reiterate one property, one investment over and over again, and the money goes to the title company, not your personal bank account. Just hammer that in. Then slide 6, copy the bottom line up front verbatim. Slides 4 through 8 is just simply deals you've done. If you've done the few, get a testimonial slide. And then why in this investment, copy that verbatim for my slide, and I guarantee you can raise private money. You will get